So, January 20th, 2026. This was supposed to be the day Netflix dropped its most insane live event ever. We're talking about Alex Honnold, the guy who climbed El Capitan with 0 ropes, getting ready to scale a skyscraper, live for the whole world to see. Everyone was watching. And then, nothing. The event was just off. And it left everyone asking one massive question. And that's really the heart of it, isn't it? I mean, this is Alex Honnold. His entire career is built on looking at the impossible and doing it anyway. So you have to wonder, what could possibly be more intimidating than the 3,000-foot sheer face of El Capitan? You can just picture the scene, right? Millions of people tuned in all over the world. The whole production crew is in place. Everybody is holding their breath, waiting for this incredible moment. And then, just an announcement, postponed. The screen goes dark, and we're all left sitting there wondering, wait, what just happened? So let's get into it. What was the official reason? What could bring a global event this massive to such a sudden, grinding halt? The reason they gave was actually pretty simple, but it was also profound: the weather. Reports from places like Deadline and NBC News all confirmed it. The conditions in Taipei were just not safe. Now, to really understand why a little bit of weather was a complete deal breaker, we need to look closer at what exactly Honnold was trying to climb. And this really gets to the core of the challenge here. A lot of us probably thought, hey, he climbed El Capitan. How much harder can a building really be? Well, as it turns out, it is an entirely different universe of risk. Okay, so let's compare them. Over here, you have El Capitan. It's made of porous granite, so it's covered in natural features, little cracks, ledges, and holds that a climber can actually use. But then you look at Taipei 101. It's a sheer surface of smooth, slick glass and metal. The only holds for Honnold are the tiny architectural seams of the building. And then you have the environment itself, a wild, natural setting versus a dense city that literally creates its own wind tunnels. This quote just nails the problem perfectly. Even the smallest amount of moisture on that glass and steel doesn't just make it slippery, it makes it fundamentally unclimbable. It basically becomes a vertical sheet of ice. So the science behind this is a technique called friction climbing. It's what lets climbers stick to surfaces that look like they have no holds at all. It's all about the grip between the special rubber on their shoes and the surface. But when that surface is wet glass, that friction, it just drops to basically zero. It's not a question of courage at that point, it's a question of physics. And let's not forget the absolutely massive scale we're talking about. Taipei 101 is almost 1,700 feet tall. A building that huge can create its own little weather systems. The wind at the top can be completely different from what's on the ground. Plus, the building is literally designed to sway. For a person clinging to the outside, that's a dangerous, unpredictable variable you just can't ignore. So, how did all these factors lead to the final call? This wasn't just Alex Honnold making a decision on his own. This was a super high-stakes calculation made by a huge production team with the entire world watching.
This is the absolute truth of free solo climbing, and it's why Honnold is still here to do what he does. The man is legendary for his meticulous, almost scientific preparation. He's not a daredevil. He is a master of assessing risk, because in his sport, there are no small mistakes. The margin for error is, and it will always be, zero.
So, when you look at it that way, the decision becomes crystal clear. The moment the conditions were reported as bad, you apply that fact to an activity with a 0% margin for error, and there's only one logical outcome. The decision to wait wasn't just the smart choice, it was truly the only choice.
But make no mistake, that choice was made under an incredible amount of pressure. You've got a live global broadcast on the biggest streaming platform in the world. You have millions of dollars tied up in production costs, and you have that intense, unspoken pressure to just deliver the show. Saying no in that kind of environment, that takes a completely different kind of courage.
And this brings us to Netflix. As they push more and more into live events, this whole situation was a massive test. So, how did their decision to stand by the postponement actually play out for them? From a strategic perspective, it was honestly a brilliant move. Instead of pushing for what could have been a reckless spectacle ending in disaster, they chose to protect the athlete and the integrity of the achievement itself. This decision preserves the prestige of the event, and frankly, it just builds even more anticipation for when it finally does happen. Which, of course, brings us to the question that's on everybody's mind. When are we actually going to get to see this climb? And the answer is, we don't know. And that's really the whole point. The team isn't just looking for a new date to circle on the calendar. They are waiting for a perfect weather window. That means the conditions have to be absolutely flawless. We're talking bone-dry surfaces and wind speeds that are well within the safety limits. They'll go when it's right, not when it's scheduled. And this really reframes the whole story. The postponement wasn't some kind of failure or a setback. No, it was an active demonstration of the incredible discipline that makes these kinds of climbs possible in the first place. A veteran reporter who has covered extreme sports for 50 years put it this way, and it's just a perfect summary of this whole thing. Honnold's goal is perfection, and both perfection and, more importantly, survival, well, those are two things you simply cannot rush. Ultimately, we live in a world where we expect to get everything instantly. We stream our movies, we order our stuff, and it's here now. But this whole event was such a powerful reminder that some things are not on demand. The laws of physics, the whims of the weather, it turns out nature always holds the ultimate veto power. And that leaves us with a really fascinating final thought. For Alex Honnold, the physical challenge is still the same. But for us, the audience, the challenge is now something different. It's no longer just about watching the climb. It's about having the patience to wait for it. In a world that runs on instant gratification, are we still capable of waiting for true greatness to unfold?